This is the Better Youth Ministry channel. I'm Trevor Hamaker. This video is called The 7 Guardrails for New Youth Pastors and Everyone Else in Ministry. On July 24th, 1969, people were excited, but they were also concerned. 4 days earlier, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin had become the first people to step on the moon. Now those men were on their way back to Earth, 240,000 miles away. When they finally splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, 900 miles southwest of Hawaii, the waiting, watching world breathed a collective sigh of relief. For the astronauts and scientists, however, the relief didn't last very long. They had important matters to think about and important issues to deal with. The astronauts were quarantined away from the public and monitored around the clock to see if they had contracted any diseases on the moon or had brought back any germs that were unsuitable for life on Earth. They were released after 3 weeks. The astronauts hadn't brought back any germs to Earth, but they had brought back 49 pounds of moon rocks. Did those rocks contain germs that would be harmful to Earthlings? There was only one way to find out. NASA proceeded to crush some of the rocks into a powder and expose different species to it. From quail to cockroaches, all the animals were okay after the tests. It was eventually decided that the moon's germs wouldn't hurt us if we came into contact with them. In a recent video, I suggested that one of the top priorities for a youth pastor in his or her first year is to maintain boundaries. Maintaining boundaries is the equivalent to quarantining certain actions to keep them from creeping up, infecting, and ruining your ministry. And unlike moon rocks, these things will never be safe for a youth pastor to do. According to Eric Geiger, the first step toward preventing an implosion in your life is to refuse to believe that your life is above implosion. Don't think, this won't happen to me. Without guardrails in place, it could certainly happen to you and to me. A new youth pastor watched that earlier video and then emailed me asking for some practical suggestions and ideas for particular boundaries or guardrails for his ministry. And I'm glad he asked. Here's what I sent back. 7 guardrails for new youth pastors. Number 1, don't be alone with a student. Many years ago, I was younger and more careless. I would pick students up, take them to breakfast, and drop them off at school afterward. I just can't imagine doing that now. The number of stories I've heard about youth pastors with moral failings involving younger guys and girls is shocking. As they should, the church and the parents will side with the student who accuses you of wrongdoing. That means that you are always only one accusation away from being fired. Create an environment where it's impossible for you to be accused by making a point to never be alone with a student. Number 2, be careful with social media. Don't use your personal social accounts to follow or send direct messages to your current students. Instead, use your ministry's account to follow and interact with those students on social media. That's what your ministry's account is there for. Also be sure that someone else has the usernames and passwords for those accounts just to eliminate any suspicion of secrecy. Everything you do on those accounts should be accessible to someone else at your church. That one precaution will protect you from making a mistake that you might regret later. And on that note, never ever text a student of the opposite sex without copying another adult on it. The adult that you copy on the text could be their small group leader, their parent, your spouse, the pastor, anybody. It doesn't matter who you copy on it, just be sure to copy someone. This one boundary will keep you from texting something to a student that you later wish you hadn't texted. Number 3, schedule your time with God. For some reason, one of the first things to shift off your calendar when you get busy is your time with God. Because that seems to be the way it goes, one of the most important guardrails a youth pastor can have is to prioritize that time. Add a block of time to your calendar every day for personal Bible study and prayer. This is an appointment that you're making with God and yourself. If someone tries to schedule something at that time, just tell them that you're not available because you already have an appointment. Number 4, take a personal day every month. Youth ministry is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You want to be around for the long haul. And one of the best practices to ensure that happens is to take a personal day every single month. Now, this isn't a vacation day. It's a mental, emotional, spiritual health day. This was actually required for all of the staff members at one of the churches I worked at. At other churches, I've actually had to advocate for it. But the time spent away from the office is invaluable. Just do something, anything away from the church that fills you up spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. It could be a hobby, a movie, or even just sleeping. Whatever fills you up, do that. This is one way to keep burnout at bay. Number 5, discuss tough topics face to face. When a sensitive question or topic comes up, don't answer it or discuss it through email. There's just too much that can be lost in translation. In an email or a text message, you aren't able to convey your feelings or properly nuance your words in the ways that you'd like to do. So instead of answering through email, schedule a face-to-face meeting with the person or those people and just talk it out. This happened to me recently with a mom of a transgendered student. She emailed me wanting to know how our church would handle her child's presence in the ministry in terms of like use of bathrooms, gender-specific small groups, sleeping arrangements on retreats, and all of that kind of stuff. And instead of replying with answers to her questions, I replied asking for a meeting so I could understand more about her story. Even though she decided that our church wasn't the right fit for her family, she was grateful that I had taken the time to meet with her, listen to her, and pray with her in person. Number 6, build up other staff members. Make a commitment not to talk badly about other staff members, whether they're current staff members or former staff members or their ministries. Instead, what you need to do is build up other staff members every chance you get. The general rule is this: praise in public, criticize in private. Of course, the criticism should be to their face and not behind their back. When people come to you wanting to complain about how someone did or didn't do something, politely say that you think that that person should just go to the other person and let them know about it face to face. That one decision will keep you from finding yourself in the middle of all sorts of drama. Also, don't throw former staff members under the bus. Looking in the rearview mirror is not the best way to drive forward. That person is gone, and there's no need to keep reliving their past mistakes and failures. Number 7, avoid debt at all costs. Debt can cripple your future. Personal financial stress can just wear you down. So be careful not to go into debt for anything other than your house. About money, my best advice for new youth pastors is just to follow Dave Ramsey's plan and spend less than you earn. Also, manage your ministry's budget well. Don't hoard it all until the end of the year, and don't blow it all at the beginning of the year. Space it out over time so that you can do things that matter. So it's your move. New youth pastors have so many different challenges to work through. You have to get to know people, you have to make improvements, you have to plan for the future. There's no reason to add to those challenges by crossing boundaries and busting through guardrails that are going to make your life more difficult. So spare yourself the stress and keep these 7 things in mind. Don't be alone with a student. Be careful with social media. Schedule your time with God. Take a personal day every month. Discuss tough topics face to face. Build up other staff members. And avoid debt at all costs. With these guardrails in place, you'll protect yourself from derailing your ministry and your life. Do me a favor, if there's anything that you would like to add to this list, leave it in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next video.